Been here one time before. Is it still kind of exciting to you your second time?
Oh my gosh, this is like amazing. This is like Christmas for me. I love covering NASCAR. My first race I ever covered was the Daytona 500 in 2020 before obviously the pandemic shut everything down. That was obviously the Ryan Newman crash, a big race, but obviously like you said, this is the premier event for NASCAR. This is basically the Super Bowl for the sport that they kick off the season with. Super exciting week.
It's unbelievable. And I tell you earlier, we had a chance to catch up with a local driver, David Reagan. He had a chance to get his practice round in today. He's one of the guys on the top of the leaderboard for going almost, he averaged 197 miles per hour, which I think is pretty fast. But he's absolutely a guy that's been here. He's done it before, and he's been around this race before, too.
Yeah, he had that second fastest time in that first practice earlier today. The guy who's from Georgia, obviously he's racing for Gripware Racing today, driving the, or not today, this week, driving the 15 car. We had a chance to catch up with him about the next gen car and a couple things going on here at Daytona.
Why this race? We know it means a lot. We know Daytona 500 means a lot to a lot of people, but why did you want to come back to racing this one?
Well, this race pays the best. That's the first reason. But when you're here Sunday morning and there's 110,000 people in the stands, and you know you hear the U.S. Thunderbirds fly over, the U.S. Air Force guys, and you know there's just something about Daytona 500. It's a special race. It's our Super Bowl of motorsports, and so you know racing was kind of founded here in Daytona. So it's a lot of fun. I think that the whole week is enjoyable if things can go smooth, and so far we got off to a good start.
And obviously this is the debut of the next gen car, something a lot of fans are talking about. You had the second fastest time here at practice. What did you see in that car today?
You know, we all had to measure kind of the risk versus the reward. You know, we don't have a lot of extra cars, we don't have a lot of extra pieces, but it's so important to get out and just make some laps because things do feel different. They draft different. You go through the gears different. We've got different brake package, so they get on the pit road different. So, I mean, this is the best time to kind of start building that notebook for Sunday. So, my car owner, SelectBlinds.com, our sponsor, they said, hey, don't put any scratches on it. Try to take care of it. But, yeah, we wanted to get out there and draft a little bit. We'll run a little bit more in second practice. And then, yeah, we go qualify and get ready for some dual racing on Thursday.
Well, and the restrictions on how many cars you guys can have and kind of that side of it, does that change how you strategize the different qualifying and the different practices?
Yeah, it does for sure. I mean, in years past, we did have multiple cars, backup cars, and we just had a lot of inventory around. But with the new style car, with the limited parts and pieces, and they've got to go to California, Las Vegas, and Phoenix the next 3 weeks. So logistically, that presents a few issues. So you just have to be smart. But once they drop the green flag for the Daytona 500, I feel like all that goes out the window because then you're here to race. You want to get that checkered flag. But until they drop the green flag, we need to be respectful for the situation that we're in.
Back off of him.
And Reagan certainly knows a lot about this next-gen car. He was one of the test drivers for Ford, so he has more laps in this kind of car than a lot of these drivers on this track. Obviously, the Busch class last week in LA, that was a very different kind of race than what you'll see here at Daytona. How these cars are going to draft, how they're going to be different aerodynamically is going to be so different here at Daytona. They're also designed to reduce some dirty air, which is something you hear drivers talk about a lot as far as the drafting. This is a track that drafts quite a bit, so it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. You also heard Reagan talk about the increased regulation of these next-gen cars, an effort by NASCAR to control some of the costs, increase parity in the sport for some of the little guys in NASCAR. Teams won't be allowed to replace a car until it's used in at least 3 races unless the supplier and NASCAR officials deem it can be replaced in event of a crash. So that's a big factor this week, of course, in Daytona where there's a lot of crashes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. He's always talking about the crashes go on, but I'm excited about this week. We got a lot going on. We're going to be covering it all week here in Daytona. There's a lot of things going on in the next couple of days we're going to cover, and absolutely it's going to go down on Sunday with the big race in the Daytona 500. So Courtney and Russ will have it all for you all week, and by the time I leave here, we both will be experienced in the NASCAR series.
Well, you can tell your enthusiasm and that Kelly, frankly, is already an expert. She's obviously been a big fan for a lot of years. Can't wait to watch it, Courtney. It's amazing that they begin the season with really the biggest race of the year.
Is picking up right where he left off last year. The 2021 Cup Series champion will be on the pole in Sunday's Daytona 500. Qualified first tonight. Hendrick Motorsports teammate Alex Bowman will join Larson in the front row. They'll lead the field to green in the new look next-gen cars. Our Kelly Price has more on the new rides.
Well, there are a lot of unknowns going into Sunday's race. Really, the only constant being Daytona International Speedway, the track itself, even if this is one of the most unpredictable races in all of NASCAR. The only thing this next-gen model has in common with its predecessor is that it has 4 wheels and goes very fast. Everything else from the tires, lug nut design, how they shift, the steering, bigger brakes, new dashboard and more digital components, and even parts availability is totally different.
There's nothing about it that's the same as last year. With that being said, it still drives and races like Daytona, and maybe even more so than the other places we've been to. You know, we tested at Charlotte, we raced at the Coliseum. The car is very different, but here it doesn't feel terribly different. So I feel like pretty confident that your past, experience and what you feel and what you're looking for, how you time things in the draft will change a little bit. But all in all, it still feels like Daytona, and it feels, pretty comfortable.
I mean, every single thing about this car is different. So heading into this weekend, it's a lot of unknowns and trying to figure out, how the car handles in the draft and how it's all going to work. And, you want to have that car that you can be really confident with and make the aggressive moves you need to at the end of the 500. So it's going to be a whole week of figuring out how to get that feel.
Teams are limited to 7 cars in their inventory at a time, and each car has to be used 3 times unless determined to be officially damaged by NASCAR. That's changing teams' approach to Speedweeks, in many cases practicing more conservatively.
So I will say that the car owners really want us to be thinking like that. As a race car driver, you try and think about it, but as soon as you hit the racetrack, sometimes it goes out the window. So, you just try and do your best to put yourselves in good positions where you're not making risks and taking chances that you don't need to. But the dual pays points, and those points that it pays are extremely important to getting the season off on the right foot. So you got to weigh that out, risk versus reward, if it's worth taking a chance or making a move that might end up in a crash or might pay off with points.
And by the way, things pit crews have been doing their whole careers are different now as well. The tires they're changing and carrying are different. The lug nut gun now goes counterclockwise rather than righty-tighty like they always have. And the fuel cells are a little larger, holding a little more gas. So after an off season of training for all of those adjustments, that is a learning curve here during these practice runs as well. At Daytona International Speedway, Kelly Price, Fox 5 Sports.
It's about the importance of tonight.
Yeah, I mean, there's the top 10 finishers tonight will get Cup Series points in each of those duels. So that is something to definitely be racing for. However, they are going to probably race conservative tonight because of those inventory limitations, the new rules around these next-gen cars. At the same time, it's a big night for learning in these new cars. How will they draft on a super speedway? How will the airflow between these cars? Drivers told us they'll be making notes about what they learned tonight about situational driving, such as areas drivers need to avoid or what to do in certain spots in these new rides.
It will be different really for the first 5 days of Speedweeks. I think that Sunday everything will be status quo and people will probably race like there are no concerns with cars and supply chains, but up until that point you'll probably see a little bit more timid driving. We're going to have to adapt. We're all going to be learning on the fly as we go.
I mean, every single thing about this car is different. So heading into this weekend, it's a lot of unknowns and trying to figure out, how the car handles in the draft and how it's all going to work. And you want to have that car that you can be really confident with and make the aggressive moves you need to at the end of the 500. So it's going to be a whole week of figuring out how to get that feel.
You're always trying to kind of paint that mental picture of what's going on and what the lanes look like and where the energy is coming from. So until we get a good understanding of how it works, I think I don't really know. So we'll see. I think Thursday night will probably be a good judge.
You see the number 5 team here. This is also going to be a big learning curve for these pit crews that are doing a lot of new things as well with these next-gen cars. So don't be surprised if you see some pit stops, even though this is a 150-mile race.
A lot of guys will have a lot of things to learn tonight, so it'll be interesting to see how they run like we mentioned today.
Well, thanks, Justin. Here at Daytona International Speedway, those two duels really looked nothing alike. The second one, super dramatic finish. But in both of them, the drivers and the pit crews really learned a lot, DJ.
Yeah, they did. And today was a day about learning about it, because all these different new cars, you're trying to figure out what to do, especially when you come in for the pits or when you're out on the race. So it was interesting to see some of these guys go out. And I had a chance to talk to Chase Elliott about coming in and what it was going in the pit.
Felt pretty normal, honestly, from races in the past here with the other cars. So I think everybody was, doing a no tires on your pit stop was certainly a faster way to run the race. We just felt like that we needed the rep. It was the first time we ever had to pit this car with the single lug, and the timing for me is different. Obviously, the timing for the pit crew is different. So I feel like that rep was worth giving up a little time. So overall, I think it's fine, and try to go get him Sunday.
Fellow Georgia boy David Reagan driving that number 15 Ford here at Daytona. They felt the same way about getting that race rep in. They felt really good about it. They did finish 17th, which isn't where they wanted to be, but he was in that final wreck there. He was right on the inside of that final wreck.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Coming down that last stretch, he was right in the middle of it.
Everybody has their opinions, but it's just a matter if you listen to them or not.
Well, if you think your boss grinds your gears, try being Bubba Wallace or now Kurt Busch, who are competing against a literal backseat driver as they ride for 2311, the company co-owned by current number 11 car driver Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan.
It's good when we beat him on some days, and it's good when we don't, because he's definitely what are we doing, making sure that we're doing everything right, or trying to figure out why we beat him, for him to be better. So it just continues to push our program even higher.
So I have experience racing for drivers that are current and active, and they love to be driver coaches right away. Like, you're driving in too deep, or turn the wheel there. It's like, okay, all right.
And where 2311 is and where they want to be are different places right now. Hamlin told us he's put in a ton of off-season work. So now that the NASCAR season kicks off here in Daytona, he's actually less busy.
It's difficult. My season is different than everyone else's, especially all these drivers. My off-season is the season. I work harder in the off-season than I do during the season. My Monday through Friday is booked.
Another element 2311 hopes help them rise further to the top, adding Kurt Busch and everything that comes with the former Cup Series champ.
Kurt coming over brings just a substantial amount of experience, knowledge, wealth, everything. And to figure out this new car, I just said it over there, he's a nerd when it comes to this stuff in a positive way, because he wants to figure out what exactly we need.
We've hired double the amount of people, and I was seeing different people come out of the woodwork that I've worked with at Ganassi or at Stewart Haas, with Barney Visser at Furniture Row. Even an old Roush employee say, "Hey man, can you get me a spot over there?" And I'm like, "All right, I'm not that bad of a guy. I must have been okay of a driver to work with." It's about winning and having that winning mentality. Our goals are set high at 2311 this year. We've built up our program, and now it's time to go.
Wallace also talked this week about how 2311 did not have the showing at the LA Coliseum Clash they would have liked as a team. And even at yesterday's duels, Denny Hamlin didn't have the finish he would have liked. And they've talked about how there's no excuse for that going forward. But as anyone who's watched the Daytona 500 knows, this is anyone's game on Sunday, just as much as it could be 2311's. At Daytona International Speedway, Kelly Price, Fox 5 Sports.
Exciting day here at Daytona International Speedway.
Certainly were some Georgia boys getting it done tonight. The winner, Austin Hill, that you guys saw earlier, he just made his Richard Childress Racing debut with this racing team. He hasn't even worked with any of these guys before, which makes it even more impressive that he was able to do what he did. You heard those gnats off the top. A really cool moment for him as he gets his first Xfinity win. He won here in 2019 at Daytona during a trucks race, but this is something that he's hoping to build on for the rest of the season.
Yeah, anybody that's a Go Dogs fan, Go Dogs, that's for sure, winning the national championship. I mean, Georgia has had a heck of a year with athletics with the Atlanta Braves and Georgia Bulldogs, and I am full-blown Georgia fan. So, everybody tuning in that's from Georgia area. I'm from Douglasville, Villa Rica area. So, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for cheering me on. And like I said, hopefully we can win some more races, and we're locked in for the championship. We know that we're going to be racing for a championship. Now we just got to get prepared for it. Our confidence is at an all-time high. I actually said about a week or so back that my confidence level is higher than it's ever been, and this just kind of raises that bar up even more. I feel like I can win at any given weekend, any racetrack we go to, and we don't expect this to be the only win that we get this year. We expect a lot more.
And another one of those Georgia boys in the top 10, Ryan Sieg. You had a chance to catch up with him after the race as well.
Yeah, Ryan Sieg from Tucker, Georgia. Well, the 64th annual Daytona 500 was one for the record books. I mean, we had perfect weather, we had superstar racers, we had the new next-gen cars all in action, and this was my first time being here at Daytona 500.
The biggest fact of all.
The biggest fact of all. But also, Kelly, there was another guy who had some success today, and it was his first time as well, having a big win today as well, right?
Yes, the rookie Austin Cindric gets the win. He gets his first win ever on the Cup Series is the Daytona 500. I mean, can't get any better than
no
that.
Doubt.
He got his owner, Roger Penske, quite an 85th birthday present with the Daytona 500 checkered flag. The Ford started strong today with what ended up being a winning strategy. Cindric said he felt like he did more as a pusher than a leader today, and he said what he saw in that spot taught him a lot about what was going to work in this race. In the end, his teammate Ryan Blaney proved critical in helping the number 2 end up in victory lane. And the 23-year-old's rookie campaign is off to a great start as Cindric becomes the second youngest driver to ever win the Great American Race.
Yeah, I mean, there's never been a rookie in the 2 car, plain and simple, and the 2 cars never won the Daytona 500. So for me to be able to do that, to be able to deliver that for this team, a lot of people have been trying a lot of years. My car chief said he's been trying 20 years to win this race, and so proud to deliver that to them and everybody else on this team.
Chase Elliott overcame numerous tough pit stops today to finish 10th, not the win he and the number 9 team wanted, of course. He declined to comment to us at Fox 5 Sports after the race, but he is going home with 1 Cup Series point. He was involved in that late crash, but was able to pull off that top 10 finish, and the other Georgia boy in this race also finished in the top 10, which was exciting to see, DJ.
Very. I was excited to see David Reagan come out and have a good performance.